What is up, Sideways fam? We're back again this week with a lot of Supra stuff going on. Right now, we're gonna be going ahead and pulling this black MK in on the lift. And there's all kinds of other cars right now getting worked on. Drew Peacock's car's here, gonna be getting on dyno this week. That car is gonna be getting on dyno next week. Got a lot of work to do on this thing. Got my car out here. We're just slammed with cars, so it's just good. It's just been crazy, crazy, crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and get the black car on the lift. We're gonna get going. All right, guys, so Ray's car is inside. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick overview of the car and everything we're gonna be changing. As you can see, the car is a 2JZ GTE VVTi swapped car. This is a 1994, I believe, Mark IV Supra, and a 5-speed car. The customer did purchase the car for about 50 grand, which, I mean, nowadays isn't a super horrible price. You know, for a black Mark IV, that's gonna be a T-top, that's already gonna be manual with wheels and a pretty nice body and clean title. You know, hey, I think it's a bit much, but if you want it, you want it. And I mean, who doesn't love a black Mark IV? So we're gonna go ahead and get right into this right now. I'm gonna show you what's all done, what I don't like, and what we're gonna go ahead and be changing. And we'll get right into it on this video right now, guys. So look at this, guys. We got the fake HKS intercooler with the fake HKS air filter with some weird couplers on, looks like from my intercooler to stock twin turbo setup. The NA carb exempt intake with somebody made it in their backyard wiring harness that went to obviously a stock computer. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and rip the twin turbos out, which are gonna be a pain in the ass. If nobody knows anything about pulling twin turbos out in a Mark IV Supra, it is no fun. But I mean, gotta say, guys, I'm a little jealous of the black Mark IV. I have 2 red ones, but I do love black ones. I hope to have one day. I know when I originally wanted a Mark IV, this is pretty much what I wanted. Even with the brown interior, that's kind of what I always wanted. The wing on the back of this thing is kind of funky. I don't know if it had some kind of weird thing on it or whatever, but we're gonna be going ahead and painting up and using Drew Peacock's old Mark IV Supra twin turbo wing, paint it black, get it on the car so the car can look like a lot nicer. Pull off these weird Sparko stickers and all the rest of the stuff that we don't need on this thing. But pretty much, guys, we're gonna be going over pulling off twin turbos in the car. Clutch and transmission are all gonna be staying in. We're gonna go ahead and pull the intake manifold off, pull the wiring harness out, and we're gonna get power steering removed, everything else that we need to do, because we're going forward-facing intake manifold, we're going comp turbo. Probably gonna be doing a different exhaust manifold setup on this. We'll talk about that later once I'm getting into it and showing you guys. But we have 2 days, 3 days maximum to get this car done so we can get it on the dyno. So let's just hurry up and get right into it and not lollygag anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and power through this. I don't wanna take too much time because this is a crappy job that nobody wants to do. I know I'm gonna get frustrated and I'm not gonna wanna video the whole entire thing. And I think time lapses are kind of a little redundant. So we're gonna go ahead and remove all the hard lines up here on top. They're all 10mm bolts. You can go ahead and just rip them all out, unplug the connectors. You're not gonna be using any of that stuff anymore anyways. Then you're gonna have to remove these hoses because basically what's gonna happen is these up pipes right here for each turbo, these charge pipes, they're gonna be 12mm. You're gonna have to remove them from the turbos and then also remove these other pipes right here for your intercooler and your intake that's gonna come over it. Those are gonna be 12mm bolts. Once you get those out, you can go ahead and remove the heat shield. And then I'll kind of get from you guys after that of what we're gonna have to do next. You're gonna have to remove some coolant lines. So make sure you got a bucket to drain the coolant in from a radiator. It's gonna be kind of a mess. Deal with all the other crazy stuff underneath the car. But let's do it step by step and we'll get it real quickly done. All right, guys, so a few minutes in, I just wanna show you what you're looking at. So you're gonna remove this pipe that went from here around here, back into the coupler here. And then you're gonna have your 2 12 bolts here that I've already removed that you'll see here. And then what happens is if you removed everything else, this top pipe will come right out. So you'll remove that. And then this piece you'll wanna get to come up straight up and out. So you'll pull this piece out, and hey, it's looking like we're getting somewhere now. So now we have a lot more room to work. The back one is gonna be a pain in the ass. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to just pull this pipe out right here for right now, get the shield off, and then see what we're gonna do about getting that out. May have to remove the whole turbo with that in it. Some of the times, if you're not planning on saving them and it's not a big deal because of the JDM ones and they're always messed up anyways, you will you can go ahead and remove the cartridge and just basically break the turbo out of the housing And sometimes you have to do that to be able to get it in there, but we'll see how we can get it out in this one if I have to do it that way. All right, guys, so little update. So how these come off is there's gonna be 2 bolts here and 1 on the bottom, and then the turbo basically flips. So you'll have 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom there. Then after you remove those basically 6 bolts, the turbos will come off. You'll have to disconnect the downpipe and everything down here, the drain lines, the feed lines that go to the block, which we'll do underneath the car. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and do this how I would do any other turbo for the front. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove the center cartridge clamp, which is this. And then we're not gonna be reusing these, so they're gonna be trash after this. And one of them, I believe, isn't even working anyway, so they're garbage. So don't hate me for destroying some Toyota turbos. But I'm gonna go ahead and smack that off with the pry bar and basically hammer the turbo out of it. Out of the cartridge. Usually the turbo does break because they are ceramic in the rear, but we're gonna get that one off, and I'm gonna see how I can wedge out the rear one right now. All right, guys, so sorry I skipped a few steps of letting you guys know how to remove the intake manifold and everything else, but this is the mess that we're at right now. Wiring harness is pretty much all disconnected. Upper plenum is already out, and I already got it pretty much off. So right now I'm gonna start unplugging everything, and that whole part of this section of that will be all done. So pretty self-explanatory, you guys. If you guys need me to make a video of how to remove it, we can do it, but obviously you remove the fuel rail, you remove the upper plenum, and then once you remove the fuel rail, you can get to the rest of the bolts, and then move the harness out of the way, and then you're pretty much done. So next. All right, guys, so I wanted to show you guys real quick. This is the Brazilian manifold that we're using. It's a cast log style manifold for 2JZ GTE. The wastegate fits on the bottom. On the FSR Street Fighter one, it would face on the top, which is kind of cool, but it's too expensive to deal with the fabrication stuff on that end, so we're doing it this way. So basically, what we're gonna have to do is these wastegates run a 2-bolt wastegate, which isn't really good for JZ. I don't know why it was designed like that, but it's kind of poorly designed. So what we're gonna do is we are going to weld on a 44mm wastegate flange, but if you look inside, the porting is not nearly big enough. I mean, it's close. I've already marked it, but not close enough. So I'm gonna have to die grind all this out and kind of port this so that we can get maximum flow. I do have a setup similar to this on my MK4 Supra right behind me right here that I have told you guys about, the FSR Street Fighter kit. But we're gonna be producing these. There is another company. I will go ahead and check online and figure out who's selling it to right now. I believe the kit just for the manifold is about $550 plus shipping and tax. So you're looking at about $600 for a manifold like this. We'll probably be selling these for somewhere around $400 just to beat the market and kind of flood it. So I'm just went ahead and grabbed some brand new carbide bits right here. For cutting casts and anything crazy big. My die grinder is over there. I'm going to work on this right now because we are getting close on the MK4 Supra on getting that all done. So stay with it. Once the porting is done, we'll be test fitting this manifold, probably getting the turbo on and everything else too. As far as today though, the plan is, since I did get kind of frustrated yesterday with this thing, is finish getting the turbos out, get the intake manifold out, get the wiring harness out, get the clutch fan that is completely seized. I mean, I can't even push this with my, I can barely push it with my hand out of there because it's just totally destroyed. And maybe, I guess, since he's running a Chinese radiator, just get some Chinese E-fans and get that on it so he can be in and out of here. I'm not even sure that's even a MK4 Supra shroud. I think it's like a S13 shroud. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just start tearing everything apart. Once the manifolds are out, we'll pressure wash the engine bay, give the car a quick cleaning, because it is kind of a mess. Hopefully we can get all this done today. We are a little behind schedule on this. Once we get all that stuff out, we need to get going on the fuel lines and modifying the intake manifold and stuff like that too. So stay with it and see what's to come next. So a little bit of an update. Wiring harness is pretty much basically off. Intake manifold has been removed completely, as you can see. And Sage is over here struggling with the turbos. Already got the first turbo out and the drain lines off the bottom. I disconnected, so I made a little bit more room by pulling the front cartridge out here. Now you're able to get your hand in there to get to the bottom bolts on that side, but you will not be able to get to the little downpipe section of the turbo up here since the ABS is in the way. It's really hard, so probably gonna go from the bottom and have to just find the right tool or something to get it off, and then we'll be removing the other drain line and the other bracketing that holds the turbo up from the bottom. We will break it loose and then it should come apart pretty quickly after that. But it's about noon, so I've already been on this again for another 4 hours. So people think that it's pretty quick. You know, generally with rusted bolts and all this stuff being kind of funky, you know, I'd say it's at least an 8-hour job. So let's get it. So Sage did it the hard way and went ahead and pulled the charge pipe out off the turbo and then removed the cartridge. I said it couldn't be done, but he somehow did it. So now we're gonna go ahead and get the the other bolts off and get the manifold off like 8 hours later now. All right guys, so we got the Turbo Smart Hypergate 45 right here. We went ahead and already got the flange welded on. I TIG welded it on already. The porting's pretty good, looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. A lot of work to do that, but you know, since we're going to be kind of making these, I'm going to have to just get a better tool to get this done faster. So first time getting it done on this car. I'm eager to see the mid-range power that everybody says that these do when you go ahead and put this manifold on. I have seen only one other car with this setup on it, so let's get the wastegate on it, and then Sage is almost done getting those turbos off, so we should be bolting this on today. Look at this guy, look how buff this guy is right here.
Oh yeah.
You got that muscle from something else though, huh?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you can't put that online.
Explicit content. Sorry.
Yeah, explicit content.
Yeah. Sorry guys.
All right guys, so once you get the turbos out and you've removed these 2 and 3 bolts and 2 and 1 bolt like that, all you gotta do is get an impact gun in here, or you can break it by hand and use a little mini impact gun. And then manifold, you have like all the room in the world to work back here. And then when you set the turbo on, this is just a mock-up. But I mean, once you're on it, look at the piping, you guys. Like, you face the turbo straight down. You can run 3-inch piping or however big of a turbo you want. It doesn't sit that high over the turbos. You can even go like a T88 with this thing. There's plenty of room over here on the side. You got 3 fingers from the housing to the shock tower, and down here you can just run straight 3-inch piping straight down the turbo, down all the way around to the intercooler. So this is super, super great. And then look at your clearance for your downpipe. You have room for days. So I was told that this manifold is supposed to also create a lot of mid-range power because it's shorter than running a tubular manifold. So I'm really excited to try this. We do have some adjustments we're gonna have to do making to the bottom of the manifold as well. The bolts are very tight, so I'm gonna go ahead and flap this down the manifold to get a little more clearance and get some different hardware, but that is awesome. I'm super, super stoked about this, so let's see what it does next. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and remove the stock computer out of this car. So I'm gonna show you guys kind of what you guys have to do. You're just gonna go ahead and pull up on this panel right here, lift up and lift back. This piece comes right off. And then depending on, typically since this car is not stock, it probably isn't gonna have, any cover or anything. So all we're gonna do is just go ahead and unplug all the connectors from the ECU. The side connectors over here on the side, you'll have an orange connector, a white connector, and a gray connector. Sometimes there's one more as well, but in the case of this car, it should only have 3. And then we're gonna run into the firewall and the harness will be out. All right, guys, so everything is nice and clean. Letting it dry right now. Gonna put it back inside, and looks like tomorrow will be the day that we will be doing fuel lines, turbo kit, intake manifold, and whatever else we can possibly do tomorrow. So let's get it. So we got our brand new comp turbo here. Just opened the box. Got 2 more over here next to me for 2 more customers of mine, since we do sell a lot of these. And We got a brand new 6865 with a billet blade journal bearing, ready to go for the MK4 Supra. So let's get it on the car. All right, guys, so turbo and intake manifold are already on and bolted down. Lots and lots of work to do left. So we're gonna start working on the fuel injectors and other stuff for the next part of this. So looks really, really, really good. We're gonna be putting some FMS 1200cc injectors in this thing. And I still need to foul out the downpipe, but the clearance is just amazing. It looks so good, so. All right, guys, this is gonna conclude the video on part 1 for Ray's build. We have plenty of things to do still left on this vehicle. We're gonna be doing the intercooler piping, possibly changing the intercooler. I have already called the customer to ask them if they wanted to put cams in the engine. I guess they've gone ahead and given me the authorization to go ahead and do that. So we're gonna be putting T64s in it. So we need to paint the wing, paint the top cover, a bunch of other parts we need to do to get this job done. So stay with it, and on the next video, there should be a lot more cool stuff you're gonna get to see. Also, we should be starting the car on the next video, and then on the one after, it'll be the dyno video and the T-step and all the good stuff everybody loves. So thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.